and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
So hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this beautiful mountain video today with me. I don't think I've ever recorded a video so early, as early as today, because I actually had a really beautiful wild experience of sleeping here in the mountains, and I woke up really early because you really can't sleep when you're outside. And it's the new moon day actually, and it's the new moon in Leo in 0 degrees. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this way of creating, because this lunation truly opens up a gateway to the eclipse season, because at the end of August 21st, I think, we will have a full moon, right, in this same sign, but it will be in the royal degree, which is the royalty degree at the star of the lion, and it really is anchoring this sort of new royalty. And I want to talk about this sort of nobility and integrity and what this means for us on this path. And what I'm receiving for this time is that this is the awakening of the priesthood. And if you want to know more about this, watch my video on the Atlantean experiment and the cycles of illumination. And this will be more in depth explained in the Book of Life, the Seed of Life, and the Illumin Unions, which is the third book I'm starting to work on now in my trilogy of the Grand Design. So this royal code, what does it mean? This code, this degree, as it's associated, right, with the star Regulus, with the royal star of the lion, is very much associated with the ancient priesthood and the seeding of the priesthood also here on earth. And a lot of us, we belong to the priesthood, right? And we've always had the sense of nobility and this high integrity that a lot of the times in our lives, it felt like, it can't be matched up. Where's people like that? Where's people who are carrying the highest respect in their heart and nobility and, things like that? And if you're probably one of those who've been watching a lot of Jane Austen movies, I like to refer to this author because her workings, although they're pretty ancient, not as ancient, but they really show the spectrum, the rainbow spectrum of the human character. It's not just about love, or meeting someone special. If you've been noticing a little bit about that, I've been seeing how artfully or artistically she presents these characters, from hypocritical characters, to people who are all about, gossiping about others, to people of high character and people who are usually modest and humble, but yet very well educated from within and very nature oriented, people with a noble heart. And a lot of the times these scriptures are about the judgment, the right judgment of the human character, right? And although there is no bad, good, or things like that, there's still something that I call, being in integrity with our soul that applies to the illumined principles. So being an illumined soul, which means that you're awake to higher natural law, which is not just, okay, I'm going to live my personal life. This is what I'm going to create for me. The rest I'm not interested at. So when you're looking at the nature of this royal code, right? What is this awakening within us? What I'm receiving is that for those of us on this path who always belong to this priesthood, it feels like this true royal nature is starting to awaken now and emerge. And also what I'm going to talk about in the second segment will be about how to create within this space. Because a lot of us have had this inner nobility and royalty, which was an inner state, but we've perhaps led very humble lives, which is perfect. It has nothing to do with royalty. Royalty is not a state of richness. Royalty is an inner quality or an essence of soul that connects you to the abundance that is limitless. So for me, when I sleep outside in a tent, right, I'm all in the wilderness. Someone might think that's not really royal, right? Why don't you sleep somewhere in a hotel room, very fancy? That's a sign of royalty, right? Well, see, again, it's when you're looking at it from the external, it's like this fake royalty, what I call. You can have that, of course, but not if the heart's alignment in that moment is, in that space. So, true nobility and royalty and this highest degree of respect for each other comes from a space when you are within your own alignment, you are within your own source space, you are within your universe, but you also consider that everyone else is. So, I was just reading yesterday from Sanat Kumar's book, the realization book called the Aha book, and he was writing about how a lot of times when we start to awaken to our soul nature, we think, well, that's all it is, and everyone should have and share our perspective, and everyone should be in the path of our enlightened good, and this is the only way to attain it. And this is what I often notice in the spiritual circles, because everyone's group is the most important. People continuously add you to their own groups without even asking. People think their cause is the best. They're sending you all this propaganda. That's the side effect of this. It's like a first wave of awakening. But it's not where we and our space of humility ends. Our human heart continues to grow and expand into the multiple versions of what we can become, And a lot of times we look up to the stars or we look up to the light beings, not realizing that we have the very same potential to be those noble, royal light beings, because that's what they are. And I have this knowledge of the light councils and how it is there and how beautiful it is to share within such a group, which is a non-enforcing group. It's a group that simply serves the law of one, the law of unity, without reinforcing that to anyone else. So yesterday I was reading how Sanat Kumara presented it. It's very beautiful. And he was saying how we should be in our groups oriented towards simply just serving and not, becoming too involved with, everyone needing to walk our path. And sometimes I've shared with you that there's people who come across what I share and some of them love it and they start following that, and some of them don't, or some of them follow for a while and then they go their own way. And that's just beautiful, because that's the allowing nature of us that knows and recognizes that it's all beautifully unfolding and that's all already perfect. So that's also part of that nobility code. It's that knowing that what you share is valuable, but it's not the only thing, and you're not the center of the universe, although you are the center of your own universe in a way, because we're all these beautiful individual aspects of source. And yet so many times when we awaken to certain things that resonate with us, we want to, just barge into other people's spaces, and we want to, somehow share with them in a way that sometimes isn't very enlightened. I'm very much a being who is withdrawn. I share my things on my pages. I share what I know within my structure, which is what I've created for myself. But I've never shared any links, post, advertise myself ever to anyone. I simply share on my page and in my groups, and that's it. And I don't even particularly consider Ascension Pioneers as a closed group, because it's not even a group. It's a shared space for those who resonate, and even if that's just for the time being, because that's a true noble heart, allows things to come and go. There is no teaching that kind of hooks you, right? One example that was given in the book as well was Jesus the Christ, and how he walked this mission of nobility so humbly, because he had a close group of his 12, so-called 12 disciples, we never know. And then he had those who followed him. And then he was also spreading the knowledge with everyone, and he was for all. So it's various degrees that focal point from the center of what he meant to share came from. But it was unrestricted in the way that it traveled, as that beautiful information shared through divine love. And when you truly are within your own nobility, that's how you live. You live and you let live. You just simply create within your space. You allow what wants to expand from it to come out. And then you allow whatever wants to come back and feed and nourish your internal system as well, without thinking, well, now I need to get dividends, now I need to get results. Because I'm so much at the center of my universe that I'm probably the center of everyone else's universe as well. I've witnessed a lot of people in the spiritual community acting this way, because there's this high degree of almost like enforcing their information upon someone else. Because we all now have the ability to create our own pages, our own vortices, our own sacred spaces where we share what we receive in our own way. But we don't have to force anyone else or reinforce this type of information, because sometimes when it's not, done through allowance, it also becomes a restriction and it also becomes dogmatic and enforced. So what I'm feeling, and I'll share more in the Ascension update for August, because this will be the main eclipse season for us, is this royal gateway that's possible for a lot of you now on this path of this higher nobility, higher humility, and higher degree of allowingness, which is the richness that invites you in this space of the royalty within you, which is when you are a royal, whether you're dressed as a royal or not. It's not about that. It's how you carry yourself with this dignity and respect without being more the nature of pride, because the royalty and pride are not the same nature. They're not of the same source. And we sometimes have these dogmatic beliefs about these essences. So because of that, we can't step into the true essence, which truly is source-based. And our sourceness within is guiding us towards that embodiment of that essence, of that quality of source, right? Because source, as it's developing and evolving for all of us, as it's sovereign individuums, it's continuously expanding these essences as well in creation, so that they're becoming more and more anchored into the physical reality. And I've talked a lot of times about this, that this is what we're doing. We're bringing more and more of that which already is, but we're bringing it in the physical. We're bringing it as the qualities of life. We're seeding those seeds of higher awareness and higher nobility of our soul. So the royal soul would be a soul that has become this sovereign individual, that has awakened their code of this magnificence, this awareness of that you can create anything you want, that you're not, limited in any way. Because what's not also talked about in this book, and I love that because I had the same perspective in my own awareness, that a lot of individuals who felt that they were forced out into the creation experience when they started, experiencing the physical reality through their incarnations for the first time, they felt they were pushed into it. So they felt, well, now instead of being the whole cake, I'm just a piece of the pie or the cake, right? I'm no longer the whole. And so this distorted perception was created, that because you're no longer perceiving as the whole, you're not in that, it's almost like the cradle of source love. Now you're no longer fully a part of it because you became an individual. But the whole idea is that you eventually evolve into becoming a fully sovereign individual, that you can co-create with the divine. That's the whole idea behind this evolution of our sourceness. But this distortion kept creating this separation, feeling of being separate from our source, because we are currently just experiencing this little fragmented aspect. And because of that distortion, we can't fully expand in that individuality. And because of that, we create identity instead of individuality, which is not healthy for our beingness, because it can't expand. It continuously contracts instead of having this natural rhythm of ebb and flow in life, right? So also this heart of the lion, which is now awakening within so many, is allowing us to authentically create, because this pattern or a frequency of authentic creativity is that individual creativity. And because if you can't filter your energies too scattered, because you want to be everything instead of being everything through this individual aspect where you are. One of the examples I can give you is, I'm so in love with all life and nature and this beauty of Gaia, and the beauty of cosmos are everywhere, right? It's just a part that is beautiful here. It's just one tiny part, and yet it feels so grand. If you've ever hiked or climbed a mountain, or just really been with nature, not just have a little short trip, but really be with nature like I am when I step outside, you will witness all aspects of it. You will see beauty even when you're scared, if the fox comes and messes up with your tent or something. It doesn't matter. It's just you've been present with all these aspects of nature, the raw, the gorgeous, the sunny, the little shady, all of these aspects, and you were able to witness beauty in all of them. That's when you really are getting to know nature at its core, not just things you like. So if you've been a part of that, you probably know how your heart has awakened through that embodied presence. And when I was go through these experiences, this beauty and this magnitude of creation makes me see how non-limited we are in whatever we do. So sometimes I'm thinking, oh, I love to be here, but I also want to be here and there, and and then sometimes you see other pictures of other places and you want to be everywhere at the same time, and your consciousness can. But the beauty of the physical experience is also to get to know certain aspects of creation more intimately, because from the perspective of allness, when you're just consciousness, you're not zoomed in. So imagine you're a soul and you so eagerly want to zoom in, you're so eager about it. And then when you're here, you're like, oh, I want to go back to allness. You know, what is this all about? Everyone is complaining about how they want to go back home, or they want to go back to source, and they don't want to be on earth, and it's so heavy and dense. It's because they don't want to embrace allness of source through their individuality. So at the same time, your consciousness, and when you think of a beautiful place, you're already there. You've traveled there. You've been there. And I remember this experience when I wanted to go mountain climbing, and I didn't, but I felt like I did. I was all packed, and I was sitting, and I felt I really went. And I've shared this with you. And I really felt I came back. It's like I already came back through the door, and I'm back home. And it was a beautiful experience, because the consciousness, when you're tuned into it fully and authentically, it can show you many things, and how you can travel. And you can travel dimensionally within you, because these are discoveries of the different attunements, which are these structures that we call dimensions. It's like structures of source, how we can experience on each of these segments. But there's also a beauty of this intimate relationship with an aspect of where you are now, and this nowness. And this is where your heart, that's fully grounded through this creative aspect that you have in the now, leads you into, and exploring that. Because as much as I would love to see many beautiful spaces on earth, I also know that I was anchored here for a reason at this time, and that I know I might visit other spaces too throughout the course of my being here. But I'm also okay with, in love with where I am now, and intimately enjoying every nook and cranny of every space that I encounter here, because I want to explore everything here in my locality here in the Alps. And this is one of the aspects that we can flow within. You see this allness, and then zooming into our own creative dynamics, because this is what's making us truly rich and abundant flow. Because abundance is not a condition, it's a state of being. And when you kind of like master this dynamic of how to create within this unlimited and yet focally attuned awareness, you're truly becoming the master of this higher creativity. Because if your energy is too widespread, it can never fully zoom in. It can't filter through. And on Earth, we need to do that. Otherwise, dynamic of true physical abundance will not be present. You might have the abundance of the stars, but you also have this physical body that needs nourishment, right? So you're all up there in the stars, and you forget to eat sometimes. You're like, oh, I'm hungry. Where's my abundance of food? Well, you haven't paid attention to it, and you haven't zoomed into that aspect of you. So when we're really becoming this highly attuned, aware individual, we are taking care of all of these needs. We're constantly replenishing through our source nature, and then we're using that sourceness to create on earth. And this higher consciousness, and what I call this illumination within us, is helping us to truly authentically create, which means, a lot of people say, well, I'm authentic in the way I create. And sometimes, well, you might be when you're experiencing this yourself. But you also perhaps are still experiencing what I explained before, that you're kind of wanting to put your imprints, sometimes forcefully, onto others, and saying, well, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how awakening is. Because a lot of people are pushing forth information. They're saying, this is how it is. You should follow this. You should do this because it's good for you. And perhaps, or perhaps not. And the way I've shared throughout these years, I've just put these videos out, I've put my writings out. I just trusted that whoever's meant to come across will come across, and period. I did not try to advertise even for one bit. And I've had people who came my way and they said, you should advertise yourself more. You're going to get more viewers, or you're going to get more people, and all of that propaganda. And just, it didn't resonate with me. It felt forced. I felt, why? If I'm already paying attention to my life force and the way that it guides me, and I know these higher laws, because everything creates on this higher refined soul awareness. Everything creates itself through this law of magnetic attraction. When you're just radiating with that essence, and things of that which are seeking that as well are coming towards you. And that, for me, what it means to create from the noble heart. When the heart is peaceful, it's not trying to constantly create something, it's just creating, and as you're creating, you're already emanating that out, and it's very peaceful. And it's with that, you're already expanding your inner universe. You're expanding it outwardly. It's just naturally happening. You're not trying for it. You're not pushing it. You're not pushing anyone else. You're not trying to wake up the world. You're already becoming the essence of awakening. You see, that's the difference of creating reality and aspects of reality with sourceness, with this expansion that comes from within you, from your core. So when you're in your core, everything you kind of like throw out, right, as your creation, you're just like expanding into it. And sometimes we also need to contract, because contractions lead us deeper into our core, and then from that core you expand even wider. I also want to talk about the so-called instant manifestation. I've shared a post recently about this, because a lot of people in the New Age now talk about this instant manifestation, and a lot of people then feel guilty because it's not happening for them. You know, am I doing something wrong? Am I now not in the fifth dimension? What's happening? Well, humanity needs to learn that sometimes this, what we want to achieve, again, this forced, manifestation that's instant, a lot of times comes from the ego, which is us wanting to be somewhere and do something, but we haven't yet learned the lessons of the now, which for a lot of the humans are patience and allowingness of the other. No, I just want to get my things. I want to get them as fast as I can, because if I'm really a master, I will instantly manifest, and that's what I'm truly an alchemist. You are an alchemist already when you are living within that essence. And the highest way of creating for me is when you are really contemplatively asserting what you envision in the world for yourself, and, just spreading it outwardly. If that's wanting to expand further, then source will make sure of it. If not, you're just letting that go. It has to be really a natural flow. And without this quality of patience, which means that you understand the higher law, and you understand how sometimes higher energies need time to kind of like manifest and filter down into the earthly grounded reality. And not understanding those laws, you want everything right away, you want everything instant. This society in many ways has become like this instant, fast thinking, fast creating, fast moving society. And a lot of what is truly nourishing for us, we're missing out on. We're not allowing, because we're constantly needing to do things fast. But this true expansion that is illumined is not about how to get there. I was just hiking this mountain valley, and there were two people on the bikes. And there was this guy who looked at me because I was going fast. He had to go up the hill, and he said, well, it's faster on foot, right? And I said, well, depends on how you perceive your goal, right, and your path. And he was laughing. And then later he kind of went fast over me, because the terrain was again flat. And he said, you see, now I've got the advantage. And I'm looking at the guy and I'm thinking, that's so funny. Why are people always thinking in the ways who's faster, who's going to get there first at the goal? And they're forgetting the view and all the beauty that already surrounds them. You see, that's sometimes the side effect of wanting things fast, wanting things instantly, because you're missing out on the elements that sourceness wants to give you. It's like I always give this metaphor with playing a video game. When you are this superhero and you have this much power, and I've actually never played video games. Even when I was little, I remember I just didn't like them. But I remember this, and I think this is a good analogy for this. Because, you're a superhero, right? And you have all these traits, but you're still losing that power, people attacking you or monsters attacking you, whatever. And you still need those goodies, right? You need extra nourishment and supplies, and you're getting them, right? When you're like chasing for these extra thingies, right? I don't know what they're called, but it's like these add-ons. And if you are all about me, it's all within me. Yes, it is, but it's in the physical sense. In experiencing life is also about relationship, not just with each other as with fellow human beings, but relating to all aspects of life and nature. And I was hiking and I saw this rock, and I was instantly magnified to go there. And I just trusted the life force and I walked towards that rock. It was just so beautiful and magnanimous. And then I found these beautiful nature berries everywhere. I'm like, wow, that's why I was guided to come here. I was so excited. You see extra goodies. And I didn't have that much fruit with me that day. And everything just aligned. You see, when you trust yourself to not be so, uh, it's like rigid, in the way you think you need to be, because focus and rigidity, we're thinking this is only like this, is not really highest law of creativity. So we create by going in our direction, but we have all sight open so we can notice things and extra goodies. And you're saying, oh, thank you, universe. Oh, thank you, right? And you're just grabbing those, knowing that you are constantly relating to sourceness. Your sourceness relating to itself. And that's the beauty of this higher quality and what, for me, Leo represents. Because even if you are the king of your own universe or the king of the jungle, we say, as the lion sometimes represents, you still are coexisting with other creatures on this planet, with other life forms, with other fellow human beings. And it's not about how fast or where to get as a goal. It's about going your pace. And your pace is always directed from the now. And this core of creativity, which guides you in each step. And getting the elements. Sometimes I have this vision, perhaps, I'm going to create this. I had a vision to create this very special beloved necklaces, right? And I had this straight vision how. And it took me a while to get all the elements, right? These beads, those crystals, those feathers, a while. And I still didn't make them. But I know I will make them when the time is perfect, because then I had to write the books. It was like all in this dynamic flow. So I'm giving you these examples to kind of see what I'm aiming for, not just theoretically, right? Philosophically. But we're having to learn how to apply these things that we know, and we kind of, we're guided into through our sourceness. But we then expand into them by integrating through this application of all of that, and seeing how sometimes we stumble upon these things, or we kind of go the old way and we say, aha, maybe we could have done that better. Not that the first time was a mistake, not at all. You're just, Earth is sometimes a part of what we call the trial and error. You try, it doesn't work, you try again, but in a new way. Not like stubbornly always persisting in the old way, which is what you do when you're like this. So focus is not the same as narrow-sightedness. Okay, so when you allow yourself to receive, you're going to be the recipient of life, and you're going to be organically creating what is best for you. So this authentic creativity, again, it cannot come at the expense of others, because what might be authentic to you might not be authentic to others as well, you see? So people usually who find me and resonate with my core essence and what I share are usually the people who somehow resemble that through the essence of their soul qualities. And it doesn't mean that others who don't, now they're not ascending or they're not moving in this way. What I share simply needs to adhere to those who really feel that's genuine for them as well. If it's not, you better leave it. Doesn't mean I'm wrong, That's the other thing. If someone says, I don't like what you're sharing must be wrong. That again is not very principle in our awareness. So these are some of the aspects to really consider here. And when manifestation, I'm not saying instant manifestation cannot happen. When you are already aligned with this beautiful divine law, it can happen. Sometimes it's very sudden. Sometimes I think of something I need, it just appears, And it's funny. I think, I'm going to have to search for that. And I don't. It's just there. With other things, sometimes it takes time. And because there's also other factors involved and other people, and it kind of everything from all the angles of creation needs to fit just rightly into your spiral of creation. Also, I want to talk about at the end a little bit how to use this creativity that is refining the nature of what we want. Because a lot of times we get the initial vision, like I said before, one example with the necklaces, and then something comes along, and it adds on to your vision or expands. So that's why instant manifestation is not always good. If you're meant to create something that you're kind of expanding into it as you're creating, as you're moving along your process of creativity. And sometimes you want to get all the elements fast. I want to do it now, because now I'm getting the vision, so it must be now. Well, from the vision to actual embodiment, sometimes, there's like this path, it's a spiraling path that leads you into this whole process. But even your product, if you're creating something tangible, for example, might not be the end product. You might see, I like these products, but maybe I've kind of like really rushed myself into it and now I see them differently. And even that isn't wrong, because that showed you that hurrying gets you into creating partially, but it's not yet the whole, right? And you want to expand on it. It's just, okay, just redo it. That's the aspect of us being creators. We can always redo, renew, and rethink, restructure, revitalize. We're doing that. We're constantly revitalizing through our essences. So that's what it means to be the king and queen, your royal self of your creative dynamic, of your creative space, and of your authentic essence of the soul, which never enforces upon anyone else. It simply shares, because love always shares. For love, it's natural to share. Like, I never receive something that I feel it's just for me. It's mine. I've earned it, you watch these movies when people want money or gold and they're always like, it's mine. It's my precious. I found it, so it must be mine. They never think of sharing. And that's why these things happen, and wars and disputes and arguments all the time, because we think something is ours. What we're creating is perspective that it's simply unique for us, and that uniqueness is a center of creativity here on earth. But it's not a center for identity, which means now I have to identify with my product. And a lot of times people create something beautiful and then they want to give it away, or they don't want to sell it because I've created it, so now I also must own it. Certain times, because if it's meant for you, again, you have to be very wise to discern what serves a different purpose. It might be you've created something for yourself, because through it you're going to anchor a particular vibrational essence within your space. Like, I've created certain artworks that I felt were just for my sacred space. I didn't want to, share them. I just created them because I felt this is going to anchor this particular essence of my domain, of my soul essence. Is going to remind me, it's going to serve as that reminder, and that frequency will be created from that shared space and within those artistic frameworks. But certain times it's not going to be so. And if you're going to be called to share, Spirit will constantly say, share, share. You're going to be like, no, it's too pretty. I don't want to give it away. Sometimes we have this, with the nature of things. But we need to allow all of this to grow within us, because that's a noble heart. A heart that knows how to be in integrity, to live in integrity, to discern what serves what purpose, to allow life force to naturally guide us instead of enforcing it, to live with focus but not narrow-sightedness, and to just live and let be, and to be humble in our creativity the way we are, and know that it's also changing all the time because we're expanding constantly. So I will share more in the Ascension update for the month of August. This was more in depth of what does it truly mean to be in this higher creativity. And it's really important that whatever we're creating, we're constantly tuning in. Does that still resonate with me? Okay. Because a lot of times it might change, and that's okay. We don't have to rigidly say, but I've said I will do that, so I must do it. If there's a must, you will see the joy aspect simply dies. It's like, why am I no longer joyful about this? Oh, it must be because I'm forcing myself. I'm trying to do something and I feel obligated to do something. Of course, we all have these vows, and it's a part of our soul's integrity to pay attention to those vows. But they also should never come from a space of need that is coming through must. I need to do this. I must do this. If the joy element is missing, maybe it's still the right thing, but my approach towards it needs to change, or the right materials need to come along, or the right people. Maybe I'm supposed to do this in a group. The soul needs to show you. So constantly tuning into and anchoring your soul's perspective, not just this egoic tendency to do it this way or that way only. It's going to continuously expand our noble, illumined heart. So that's the message of this video. And if you're having difficulty with thinking, choices, a lot of people are still having difficulty with choosing, because they think, if I don't choose this, then that won't also be a part of my experience. Like, you want to travel here but also there, but what if I go here and I miss something there? It can never happen, because again, tune into the now. The now will tell you where you need to be now. I might dream of going to the seaside, but I feel really good at the mountains right now. Maybe an aspect of me that is dreaming of the seaside is already there, but it's not physically needing to be there at this moment. But I'll see in the now, and I'll know in the now if that's where I'm meant to be in that moment, for example. So if we're thinking of choosing this and then not choosing that from separation, we're still creating a limited effect for ourselves, but we're not truly limited. So you can create a time schedule, but you'll see it's in the end it's going to be disrupted when you're living from the now, because it's just going to be this dynamic energy playing itself out through you as you're just tuning into what feels good in the now. So let's say you can have all of that, but maybe through time. We're always thinking this again, a part of this instant wanting. I want to be here and there and I want to visit all these places now. You're trying to do that from the ego, because the soul is not about visiting those places per se. The soul is more about the experience that's behind it. Oh, the experience that we'll have when seeing the ocean or swimming in the ocean. That's a part of sourceness, is experiencing that, and then the integration of our soul that comes from that experience through our uniqueness of the individualized soul. Well, the ego is more about hunting for what is on the surface. I want to go here and there. I want to, be all these places, and you forget about the experience. Sometimes you see people talking and the first question they ask, oh, how you been doing? I've recently heard that from someone. We were there at the lakes. And the first thing the person said was like, I'm enjoying. I was here, I was there. And no one shares experiences anymore. Everyone's more like, what did they do? Where they were? It's all become like so superficial sometimes, And it's sad, really, because there's so much beauty and the richness and depth of soul when we tune into the nature of true experience with the richness and depth that we are in our core. So anyway, I would like to invite you to consider going to my page, seeing if there's any courses you would like to benefit from as a part of your own growth expansion process. And that's it for today. I won't go any further. I've explained a lot about the nature of my courses. So all the information is down below. I don't want to go too much into it. I don't want to advertise. It's too beautiful here in the mountains to do that today. So it's still very early, but I'm going to go down to the lake today. I wanted to see the sunrise actually, but it was kind of cloudy. So maybe next time. I'll talk to you again very soon. As always, so much love, wisdom, and power. Take care of your noble heart. Know that it's expanding. And know also that you're the one who's co-creating this. As you're making the right choices for you, which are not either right or wrong, but they're right in the moment. And that you see this intertwining, It's like you can do this exercise if you're having difficulty with choice. That you see this golden path that leads you from your center, from your heart. There's like this golden path exits out, and this is the path you're meant to explore. And a part of you embracing the art of choice and creativity that comes through it is seeing, wow, this path suddenly becomes all these different divisions and intersections, and you're like, oh, you can become overwhelmed, right? But then just see yourself taking one course, because you can do that energetically, right? If you're having issues or anxiety in the physical of, choosing between things, and you never can choose, there's people who can never choose, so they always end up being choiceless. But that's not practicing your sovereignty, right? So just choose one path, and then see how in parallel you also can see other paths. Oh, look, there's other ones. They're going in parallel with me. Oh, that's good. And see them spreading even wider and more microscopic and all these things and different tiny little roads. And you still might feel, you might still feel a little anxiety coming up. And still choose. Just keep on walking, because at the end, when you allow yourself, zoom a little bit out of this frame and kind of like hover above the whole picture. See it from your sourceness perspective and see that it's all in one circle of light. And they're always contained in this circle, no matter what kind of road you're choosing, this pathway. They're all interconnected, these pathways. They're all intertwined. So if you're choosing one, you're still energetically intertwined with all the rest. It's all within your soul as it's exploring this physical realm and co-creating with the divinity within it. So just continuously choose yourself walking and release the feelings of anxiety or, I don't want to choose, or feeling overwhelmed or even overburdened with everything. Just do that energetically. And you'll see these exercises that we do with the light especially with the golden light and the white light of unity, they always help us to interact with the world in a physical sense. So that's why sometimes I like to give you these exercises if you want to try, because they do have tremendous results. Anyway, time to go now. It's getting late, although it's very early. So I'll see you soon, okay? Take care, guys. So much love. Bye. Sunset in the mountains, allowing the light of what was to come into a closure, into synthesis and completion, and just letting it all go for this time of the new moon. And as the sun rises, we are greeting the new illumined presence of our being and a new cycle of creativity in the infinite creation that we are always tuning into as beautiful beings of light who are here to co-create with the divine and with each other as divine humans on earth, as illumined humans. And so it is. Let it all go. Let the past set into the dawn of the new day. And now it's early morning at the dawn, and we are seeing ourselves rising anew, starting a new cycle. And we're feeling so good about it. So joyful and full of love.